this is going to be a rant, a rambling, or whatever. I don't care. Um, I'm seeing a lot. Excuse me. I'm seeing a lot of videos and people talking about, how Black Americans were not raised. They weren't raised properly because they don't have, because of many factors. And you know what? That's so true. Many Black Americans were not raised properly, and I'm gonna tell you why. Um, Many factors, such as number one, not having a strong culture. That's very true. We don't have a strong culture. Um, when it comes to other races, they know their culture. They have a strong culture. But when it comes to Black Americans, not so much. And number two, we're so divided when it comes to each other. Like, for example, when it comes to me, I'm not, I'm raised in the so-called hood and the so-called ghetto, but I don't have the behavioral tendencies as the rest of the people in the neighborhood. And that gets me ostracized because I'm not one of them. And they try to say disrespectful things, but I don't tolerate it. I just go on ahead and move on about my business. But if they try to touch me or try to control me, I don't let that happen. I dispel it because I realize that blacks, Black Americans per se, we are our own worst enemies. We are our own worst enemies, and it showed, and I see it every single day. You have the dysfunctional blacks, and then you got well-to-do blacks. And then you got blacks that are well-to-do, but they still have the dysfunctional tendencies. And you got blacks who are struggling, but they're not dysfunctional. There's so many caveats and variables when it comes to people. And I realized that just because a person, especially a black person, is well off, living in a good neighborhood, does not mean that they're like, does not mean that their character is very flawed. Meaning that they're disgusting individual. You get what I'm saying? As far as their character. And when it comes to people who are not faring well, who, lives in low income classes, does not mean that that person is a horrible human being. Because like I said before, man, I've met some homeless people who have better character, who have more integrity than the ones that's living well off, than the ones that's living in those fancy condos and those fancy houses. Like I said before, man, it all depends on the character. It doesn't matter how much money you have. It's all about the character. It's all about what you represent. It's all about your integrity in this lifetime. But I realize that many people don't have integrity. Many people are disgusting figures. You know what I'm saying? Out in public, they may put on them. Everybody wears a mask. But behind the scenes, behind closed doors, it's a different story. And I realize that many people are fucked up individuals. You know what I'm saying? They're very entitled. They're narcissistic. They have nasty attitudes. And they wonder why people can't come together and build. And they wonder why there's so many, not only murder rates, but also suicidal rates. Because we don't know how to treat each other. And I'm not, it's what I mean by treat each other is more than the black thing. It's more than a black thing. It's more of a human thing. It's more of a human perspective. But what I'm starting to realize that we as blacks, we're so fucked up to each other to the point that we are willing to throw each other under the bus just because we want to. And it's like, this is why other races of people are not only laughing at us, but they're conquering us. They're dominating us because we don't have a strong culture. We love to beat each other down for no fucking reason. And when you have a good black person that's trying to rise up and do good, you want to shut down that person. But then I realize when it comes to stuff like that type of scenario, it's not just blacks, but it's the whole world. When you have that one person that has that flicker of light and they trying to light up the whole world, you have everybody else that's trying to dim that light until it becomes total darkness. They don't want to do good. They don't want to do better. People don't want to improve themselves. But when it comes to blacks, man, it's a very serious issue. There's no, when it comes to building together, we can't do that because we like to base our worth on our social status, and we like to create petty arguments to keep ourselves separate. That's why you have the KKK not worrying about us, because as long as we're doing the work for them, they're not worried about us. When it comes to the powers that be, the elite, they keeping us separate. As long as we're doing their job, they're not worried. They're not worried about us. You know, blacks are at the bottom of the totem pole. And the way how things is looking right now, it's too late for us. In my honest opinion, we're going to be labeled as the unwanted, and we're going to be. I'm gonna put this. We're going to be. You know how the Native Americans live in reservations? That's going to be many blacks in America in the far future. Many blacks in the far future are going to be living in reservations to the point that we're going to be separated from regular society because the other part of society is not going to have it. They're going to keep low-level blacks in reservations, and that's the real. That is the plain truth, and that's just my opinion. But I think it's going to be the truth in the future. That truth is going to come to pass. I guarantee it. But that's just my viewpoint. But I think it's going to come true. But when it comes to black people, man, we're not going to come together because we don't have a strong culture. We don't know who the fuck we are. Number one, that's what I really mean by culture. We don't know who the fuck we are. And you know what grinds my gears too, when it comes to other black people. Like I said, we are our own worst enemy. And if I see another black person, I could just be doing my own thing, minding my own business, just walking, having a neutral face, just being neutral. You have other black people that like to mean mug me for no fucking reason. And it's like, why you mean mug me? Why you trying to have a nasty attitude towards me? Why you have a mean look towards me? Why would you do that? But that's how society is. That's how blacks are in this crazy society. We love to start arguments with our own peoples. We love to talk down to our own peoples, and it's ridiculous. But it is what it is. That's why blacks can never get out of the hump because we don't have a strong culture. And I realized, I've been realized this. I've been realized this for many years ago that. When it comes to our, heroes per se, like Malcolm X and Dr. King and Marcus Garvey, guess who shut them down? Our own peoples. So what does that tell you right then and there? We are our own worst enemy. We're doing the work for the elite. We're doing the work for them. They're not worried about us because we're basically conquering and destroying ourselves in the process. Blacks don't want to. I realize that blacks don't want to self-improve. Many blacks don't want to self-improve. Many blacks don't want to do better, and they wonder why they are the laughing stock of America. And they wonder why black Americans are the laughing stock of America. We can never get together. We can never do right. We can never do things that's positive. I mean, look what's going on within the new generation, within these young black people in America. They're destroying property. They're destroying the stores, looting the stores. I mean, oh my God. And you know what, too? No, I have to put it out there. Young folks today, the ones that's looting and rioting and destroying property, city property and all that stuff, they are a reflection of the older blacks. They are a reflection of their parents. They are a reflection of the older black Americans. So when you see like young black kids looting and rioting, it's just a reflection of their parents. It's just a reflection of the black communities that they live in. And they wonder why other races don't want to be bothered with us. They wonder why other races do not want to be bothered by other black Americans. And rightfully so. They shouldn't. Because without a strong culture, you will always be at the bottom of the totem pole. And it's the truth. And that's the real. But people don't want to face the real, especially black Americans. That's why you have, like, mobile ready. This way you have, you know, um, well off black Americans like to stay away from other blacks, which I don't blame them. You should stay away from low level blacks because they will find a way to bring you down to their level. But then I realized that some of those, not all, but some of those well off black Americans, some of them still have the dysfunctional attitude or their dysfunctional behavior. But the only reason why they are well off because they have the money. What's that old saying? You pay for school, but you can't buy class. That's for well off Black Americans. Well off Black Americans who have the money, but they don't have the class. You get what I'm saying? It doesn't matter how much money you have. It doesn't matter what type of social status you have. It doesn't matter if you this, that, and the third. To them, to the elite, you will always be a nigger. I'll say it again. It doesn't matter if you have a PhD. It doesn't matter if you have a doctorate. It doesn't matter if you're the top surgeon in the world. Compared to the elite, you're nothing more than a nigger to them. But that doesn't mean that you should stop your dreams. That doesn't mean that you should stop doing what you're doing. You know what I'm saying? Like when it comes to making a difference in your life, keep on doing what you're doing. Don't mind what other people are saying, are talking about you, are saying about you. You just do you. You just do what's best for you. On a positive note. But like I said before, these so-called, well, I'm not going to say so-called, but these well-off black Americans who still have that ghetto mentality, eventually you're going to get caught up too. Eventually you're going to get fucked up. Because like I said before, you're going to get caught up and you're going to get fucked up. Because like I said before, you pay for school, but you can't buy class. And that's so true. But overall, man, blacks, it's best to just get the front, like well-off blacks, man, who have a different mindset, a different but yet positive mindset to do better in your life and to do better for your family. It's best to leave. It's best to leave and do what you have to do in order for you to survive and just enjoy life itself. To do better in life and to enjoy life itself for yourself and your family. Create a better opportunity not only for yourself but also for your family as well. So if I was you, I'll leave. And that's all I got to say about that, man. That's all I got to say. Yes, thank you so much and have a good day.